When a fighter had finished 22 out of his 26 opponents,
Oh!
that's the same kind of warning they put on packages of cigarettes. Smoking can kill you.
Not what we were expecting.
Before that fight, I was telling everybody, I was like, I think this guy's the guy.
Diego, he gets the call that he's out and we want to put somebody else in, and he accepts the fight. And it's a completely different style than what he trained for, and he still takes the fight.
But Diego's scary. It's not just that he's good, he's fucking scary. He's intense. He's one of the front runners, in my opinion.
No UFC fighter throws submissions as frequently as Diego Lopes, and with almost as many knockouts as submissions, there is no denying that this BJJ black belt is one of the most lethal competitors in UFC history. His electrifying performances haven't just earned him legions of fans. They've caught the attention of UFC matchmakers, who now believe he's ready for a title shot. As he gears up to challenge featherweight king Alexander Volkanovski, let's take a look back at how Diego Lopes played with his enemies' lives all the way to the top. Diego Lopes made his MMA debut on September 8, 2012, and over the next 7 years he blasted through 17 antagonists, with only 2 managing to last until the final bell. His reputation for crushing opponents and dashing hopes on the regional circuit soon caught the eye of the Lux Fight League, where he was offered a shot at the featherweight title. His opponent was Marco Beltran, a seasoned UFC veteran known for a win against former title challenger Chito Vera. The fight opened with both men testing each other's defenses with low kicks. However, Diego was the first to establish control, landing a sharp combination before securing a takedown that quickly put him in charge of the fight. Beltran, unaware of the trouble he was in, struggled to free himself, but fighting Lopes was like trying to wrestle a slippery octopus. Desperate to turn the tide, Beltran launched an offensive, but it backfired as Lopes escaped, delivered several punishing blows, and locked onto his leg in a submission attempt. Time was Beltran's only friend, and after a brief struggle, the referee intervened to save him from a serious injury that could have left him sidelined for months. This flawless performance earned Diego his first major title. But just when it seemed like he was destined for more success, the coronavirus pandemic hit, forcing him out of the cage for nearly 2 years. Lopes finally made his comeback on March 12, 2021, facing Macio Fullen, a dangerous opponent with a record of 15-7. After 3 rounds of a hard-fought battle, the Brazilian decided to put an end to it in the 3rd round, reversing the position and securing a flawless armbar. Fullen tapped quickly, avoiding serious injury, and left the fight with all his limbs intact. Diego's impressive track record soon caught the eye of Dana White, earning him a spot on Dana White's Contender Series 37. However, securing a UFC contract was no easy task, and standing in his way was Joanderson Brito, a fighter known for finishing fights without relying on the judges. Brito wasted no time, diving headfirst into the action and landing in Diego's guard, a position that has spelled doom for many before him. Feeling confident in his position, Brito underestimated the danger lurking below. In an instant, Diego seized his armbar, putting him in a precarious situation. But Brito showed resilience, tougher than expected, and managed to escape the submission attempt. Trading explosive strikes on their feet, a powerful right hook followed by a straight punch forced Brito to rethink his strategy, leading him to go after Diego's legs. Despite this, the battle remained a striking contest, and both fighters unleashed a relentless stand-up war. Lopes turned the tide, launching a fierce attack that drove Brito to seek safety on the ground, barely escaping a tight guillotine choke. Just when Brito thought he had survived the storm, Lopes attempted an anaconda choke, testing the limits of Brito's endurance. But to everyone's amazement, Brito escaped once again. In the closing seconds of the round, Diego went for a leg submission, but the bell rang just in time to save Brito. This closely contested fight was poised for a final round showdown. Unfortunately, an accidental eye poke left Lopes unable to continue. Luck was not on Diego's side that night. Instead of ruling the fight a no contest, the decision went in Brito's favor. Diego accepted the loss with humility, congratulating his opponent on the victory. Despite this setback and the missed UFC opportunity, Lopes wasted no time, continuing to dominate in other MMA promotions. In February of the following year, Diego faced Ken Glenn at Fury FC. A devastating uppercut from Diego served as a harsh reminder that his striking is just as lethal as his submissions. For 3 rounds, the two fighters threw heavy punches, each trying to knock the other out. But in the final round, Lopes delivered the finishing blow. A perfectly timed strike sent Glenn straight to the canvas, leaving no room for recovery. Riding the momentum, Diego accepted a fight with Angel Rodriguez next. Lopes waited patiently for his moment, and when it came, he struck with precision. Rodriguez attempted a low kick, but was met with a powerful counterpunch that dropped him. Diego switched tactics, drawing Rodriguez into dangerous territory. After softening him with a few strikes, Lopes locked in a tight Darce choke. Although Rodriguez managed to breathe through the submission, he found himself under a barrage of heavy ground and pound from Diego. Once Lopes gained control, it was like getting trapped in quick-drying cement. He kept punishing Rodriguez while hunting for a submission. Though Rodriguez survived the initial onslaught, the second round with Lopes was anything but a relief. Rodriguez attempted a flashy kick straight out of a video game, but failed miserably. Diego capitalized on the opportunity, patiently stalking his opponent before unleashing a devastating right hand that sent Rodriguez crashing to the mat. The follow-up assault left no hope for recovery. These two stellar performances earned Diego redemption after his earlier disappointment on Dana White's Contender Series. The UFC matchmaker couldn't overlook his undeniable talent and extended an invitation to join the promotion. However, Diego's UFC debut came as more of a last-minute opportunity than a calculated move, as he was asked to step in on just 5 days' notice, and his opponent was no pushover, but a seasoned veteran with wrestling skills as powerful as a gorilla's. Stepping in as a replacement for Bryce Mitchell, the Brazilian fighter entered the octagon on May 6, 2023, to take on Movsar Evloev, an undefeated wrestling powerhouse riding a 6-fight UFC win streak. The Russian wasted no time, initiating a fierce exchange, and Diego met him head-on, landing a clean shot that forced Evloev to back off. Although Movsar secured a takedown, he quickly realized he had ventured into dangerous territory, as Lopes immediately began crafting submission attempts from the bottom. Evloev got too relaxed and found himself trapped in a deep armbar. Just when he thought he had escaped, Lopes caught him in his signature triangle choke, but the bell saved Movsar from a near finish. In the second round, the fighters engaged in a close-range striking battle, but a sharp boxing combination from Diego made Evloev rethink his strategy. Predictably, the Russian reverted to his strength, wrestling. The short notice of just 5 days began to affect the Brazilian's cardio, and as the fight dragged on, Diego started to tire. Seizing the moment, Movsar shifted to a more conservative, point-scoring approach, taking Lopes down and holding him without urgency to finish. Yet in the third round, Lopes reminded everyone of his dangerous potential, even with an empty gas tank. A reversal gave him a chance to grab Evloev's leg, threatening a fight-ending submission in the final minutes. The hold was so tight it seemed Movsar's leg might snap. But once again, the bell came to Evloev's rescue. Despite the official loss, Diego's grit and heart won over fans, who viewed him as the moral victor. Evloev had a full camp, and most expected him to dominate the late replacement. However, Lopes came dangerously close to pulling off a win multiple times, proving he had what it takes to compete at the highest level. Just 3 months later, the hard-hitting Brazilian returned to the cage to face Gavin Tucker, a 13-2 BJJ black belt. A brief stoppage occurred after a low blow, but Diego took his time to recover and came back ready to strike. When Tucker shot for a takedown, Diego's leg clamped down like a bear trap, snapping shut without mercy. Once he was caught, there was no escape. The submission wizard effortlessly transitioned from a triangle attempt to an armbar, leaving Tucker with no choice but to tap. This victory earned Diego his first performance of the night bonus, and after tasting that sweet $50,000, he was eager for more. Next on Diego Lopes' featherweight hit list was Pat Sabatini, a Division I wrestler, and pounced like a starved predator, forcing the referee to stop the brutal onslaught. The Brazilian powerhouse treated the audience to just 90 seconds of action, securing his second consecutive performance of the night bonus. Next in line was Sadiq Yusuff, a hard-hitting slugger with a 13-3 record. Diego started the fight like a machine gun, firing shots without any concern for defense. Yusuff, fighting for survival, blocked with everything he had, and in that moment, it may have saved him. Though the Nigerian managed to stand, his fate was already sealed. Lopes mounted him and unleashed a torrent of ground and pound, putting an end to the fight with undeniable dominance. It was game over. This victory marked Diego's third straight win in under 90 seconds, showcasing his ruthless efficiency. On June 29, 2024, Diego faced Dan Iggy, a dangerous BJJ black belt with knockout power. The first round was a cautious affair, with Iggy drawing first blood with a takedown. However, he quickly found himself trapped in dangerous territory, barely surviving the submission attempts that followed. Later in the fight, Iggy tried to channel his inner crow cop but lost his balance, finding himself with Diego latched onto his back. Lopes capitalized on the mistake, punishing Iggy with heavy blows. Iggy rallied in the final round but lacked the energy to finish strong, allowing Diego to secure his first decision victory in the UFC. Less than 3 months later, Diego stepped into the octagon for a high-stakes battle against Brian Ortega, a submission specialist and former title contender. From the opening bell, Diego went on the hunt. A perfect boxing combination sent Ortega retreating, as if he were running for his life. From that point on, Lopes was in full control, while Ortega stoically absorbed punishment. If toughness were an Olympic event, Brian Ortega would have been a gold medalist twice over. Lopes ragdolled his opponent, dominating him so thoroughly that the judges could have clocked out early. For 15 minutes, Ortega played the role of a human punching bag, as Lopes made the former title contender look like an amateur. When Bruce Baffer announced the winner, there was no doubt who the star of the show was. Diego Lopes possesses the slickest submission game in the featherweight division, paired with boxing so sharp that it leaves opponents frozen like Elsa. On April 12, 2025, he steps into the biggest fight of his career, a showdown with the former champ Alexander Volkanovski for the UFC Featherweight Championship. Can he conquer the final boss and claim the throne in one of the toughest divisions in the sport? Only time will tell if Diego Lopes is destined to reign supreme. If you enjoyed the video, front kick that like button, subscribe to the channel, and join the Dialed In MMA Club today.